Welcome back, guys, to the first episode that you've seen of what we are now calling Mom's Basement. And before you judge us on the decision to switch, Mom's actually does stand for Mind Over Matter Sports. I think that's a better fit. I think it's more original than the Sports Corner. We're going to make that transition this week. Actually tried to make the transition, what was it?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago. So Corey wasn't here, but I actually recorded an episode with my buddy Jose. He did a really nice job for his first time basically being on a camera.
I thought it was Jack.
No, it was Jose.
My bad.
Jose, yeah. And he did a real nice job. Appreciate him coming out. Then we got to editing, and the audio was all screwed up, so couldn't upload that.
That's what he gets for trying to record without me.
Oh, man.
You know.
Oh, man.
It just is what it is.
And then the week after that, I had a fantasy football draft here that I hosted, so no time to do that then. And then the week after that, I was visiting Jose at his apartment in Bloomington, so we didn't do it that weekend. And now we are here, back to the grind.
He's just reeling off a list of excuses for you guys, you know. It's on him. Attack him, not me.
Anyways, we made the transition, Mom's Basement or Mind Over Matter Sports. I think it's a lot better fit, honestly. A lot of people have given me good feedback on it, so that's where we'll go with that. Before we get started here today, Corey, just a couple shout-outs to give. First of all, freshleats.com. Fresh Leats, what you're seeing here today is the foam finger #1 Fresh Leats tee. Pretty basic tee, but it's still super comfortable. Super good t-shirt. Thank you, Fresh Leats, for another amazing product. I know Corey is just raring to get into one. Maybe I'll buy you one for your birthday. You just never know. But Fresh Leats, shout out to you guys. Please sponsor me. Hope
if
you
we
guys
had a
see
studio,
this.
I'd be walking out of it right now.
We do have a door. I mean, a curtain you can
Yeah.
walk out of. Another shout out to the boys over at crossoverreport.com. Neil does a really nice job running that website. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, crossoverreport.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. Give them a follow. Give them a like. Really good guys. They do a really nice job with everything they do. So make sure you guys check that out. All right, today what we got for you?
Before we start, I know Joey wants to give one more shout out. Today we are recording this on Hawk Harrelson's birthday. Happy 75th birthday to Hawk.
Possibly the worst human being to ever exist.
Wow. You know, Hitler was a thing.
Possibly the worst human being to ever exist. Hawk Harrelson.
I haven't listened to Hawk Harrelson in the 2016 baseball season, I think, so I've stuck to Jason Benetti games, so, but still, happy 75th, Hawk, and retirement's waiting for you, buddy. Just
oh, man.
Get
Go
out.
check into a nursing home, please.
Oh, God,
All right. Alrighty. So today, a lot of football. Touch on some NCAA football. We're going to hit a lot of NFL football. Some fantasy football in there. And then, of course, towards the end of the show, I have to get in my tidbit about my campaign for Kyle Hendricks for the NL Cy Young Award.
And I don't have alcohol this week.
No, you don't. You know what we have, though? A
Hams.
couple more quality starts. God, no. A couple more quality starts from Kyle Hendricks of the Chicago Cubs.
Okay, just do the show.
But not going to get into that right now. We're going to start with some NCAA football. The season was underway. It started probably on Thursday. There was a couple games. There was a game in Hawaii and Cal. I think they played in like Australia or something. So the season's been underway for a few days now. But yesterday we had 2 top 5 teams go down for the first time in the same weekend since 1973. That's pretty crazy. I mean, especially in college football in the beginning of the season, when you normally see is, you know, Michigan played Appalachian State.
That was the big one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but you get these teams. They pay these smaller schools to come in and basically just get blown out. You want a tune-up game.
That is. It's a tune-up game.
Yeah. So to see 2 top 5 teams go down is pretty shocking, honestly. One of them is not as shocking. Oklahoma losing to Houston by 10. You know, Houston's a ranked team. They're ranked 15th. Oklahoma's ranked number 3. Houston's always got a high-powered offense. I remember watching them back in the day with Case Keenum.
Way back in the day.
Now on the LA Rams, he just slinged the ball 60 times a game. He holds a couple records, I think, in NCAA history for most passing yards, touchdowns, stuff like that. But Oklahoma, they're widely known as one of the best college football teams every season. So to see them go down in week 1 kind of puts a damper on what they hope to do this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think at the end of the day it's going to be, when you get to the final 4 teams, you know, let's say Oklahoma wins out, it's not going to be as negative of a loss as, say, than LSU when we're coming up to talk about LSU. Because Houston was the 15th ranked team in the top 25, so they are a quality opponent. Yes, it's an opponent Oklahoma should beat and has to beat if they want to be considered for a playoff spot.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Especially with the top heavy, the way the NCAA football is so top heavy,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous.
usually, I want to say usually, but a good amount of time, one loss is that's it.
Right.
If you're not going to get
Well,
to
especially the old system they had. With,
Yeah,
with
we're still
computers.
getting used to the new system, but
Right.
yeah, one loss is sometimes a death sentence for a team.
Yeah. So, like we said, LSU also lost this weekend. They lose to Wisconsin. This one probably effectively kills their season, honestly. Wisconsin's not a ranked team. They're not a very good team. LSU's got the best running back in the country, probably the best player.
Probably
in
the
the
best
country.
player. Yeah.
Leonard Fournette got absolutely shut down yesterday. They were just stacking 8-9 guys in the box and saying you got to beat us with your arm, and LSU's not equipped to
No.
do that. So
I saw people yesterday tweeting out comparing the way Fournette runs the football to Walter Payton, and you know that he's that hype of a player. He is going to be a running back that's drafted in the top 5 picks of next year's draft, and yeah, they flat out didn't play well versus Wisconsin,
Nope.
and there were some cheap shots along the way.
oh my God!
and-
If you didn't see this late hit, Wisconsin intercepts the ball late in the game. I think it was the pick that really it ended the game.
It iced the game,
Yeah,
basically.
it iced the game.
Mhm.
And 76 was it? An offensive lineman,
Yeah.
I assume, comes up, and they pick the ball off. His knee's down, so the play's dead. He gets up, celebrating with the ball, running, and he just gets clotheslined by 76 of LSU, and it was a brutal hit. I saw that and was like, oh my God, that
Yeah.
guy is going to get suspended for
There's
probably.
There's no place for that. I
No.
mean, they teach us sportsmanship from a young age,
Yeah.
and that guy just. Yeah,
I mean,
scumbag.
all right, I understand he's a scumbag. I understand you're pissed off. You just lost the game to an unranked team, a team you should beat. But you have to understand that Wisconsin's gonna be hype. They're gonna be feeling really good after defeating you. So, give them their time to celebrate. You know, be a good sport. Like we said.
Yeah, and just so we can put a name to the number, LSU's offensive lineman number 76. His name is Josh Butte. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Josh Butte, you're a
Yeah,
scumbag.
you're a scumbag. There was no place for that.
No. And as usual in NCAA football, Alabama looks dominant as ever. Put a 50 spot up on a pretty decent USC team. You know, they're ranked again.
20. They were
Yeah.
20th.
So they're on the comeback from what's been a really disappointing stretch. So Bama just put a whooping on them after the first quarter.
I mean, shout out to USC. They were winning 3-0 after
Yeah.
the first quarter, and
Yeah.
then
And I know they consider that kind of a neutral site because they played in Jerry's World in Dallas.
okay.
But that's not a neutral site, to be honest. That's California, Alabama is like way closer to Texas. So
Plus,
yeah,
Bama fans are.
Bama fans travel well.
everywhere.
They're everywhere, yeah. So Bama looks dominant again. And coming into the next thing, talking about Bama, we're going to make our predictions of who we think will be in the Final Four. What Final Four in college football means: 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. Winners face off for the national title. I've got Bama at 1, Clemson at 2, Michigan is my 3rd team, and Notre Dame is my 4th team. Corey.
Yeah, in no specific order. I mean, I assume Bama's going to be 1 because Bama's been number 1 for the last 7-8 football seasons.
With the best coach.
With the best coach. I think it's been every player who has come through the program for the last 7 or 8 years has won a championship under.
Yeah.
They've left school with a ring basically because of how often they win, and Alabama's loaded again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're just going over it like ho hum, but I mean it's Alabama.
Okay.
They're great. Clemson is in my top 4 as well, and then I mean it's because they have the best quarterback.
Most dynamic quarterback.
Yeah,
in
best
the country.
quarterback prospect in the country. I have Notre Dame in there as well because they are loaded with NFL talent.
Product of Providence Catholic High School, Miles Boykin.
Yep, represent. And my fourth team, I had a little bit of a hard time picking out as well. I ended up going with Florida State, and that's really based on their quarterback situation and how well their new quarterbacks play. What's his name? DeAndre Francois. That's not the quarterback name that you hear every day. He is listed as Florida State's starting quarterback. They have their first game is against Ole Miss coming up, and Ole Miss is 11th ranked overall, so that'll be a good test for them.
Yeah, right
I
off the
mean,
bat.
Yeah, they have an elite defense, elite NFL talent on that defense, and do we really need to say much about Dalvin Cook?
He's a beast. He'll probably have 2,000 yards.
He can hit 2,000 yards this year, I think. So, basically if the quarterback does just enough to not screw up Florida State, I feel like Florida State can have one of those seasons where it's just defense, running game, and maybe they lose one game along the way. But
You have to play Clemson.
yeah, and if they lose a game against Clemson,
Not a huge ding.
it's really not, because again Clemson is another team in our top four, so that's about as quality of a loss as you can have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Just a quick recap. First weekend of college football. You'll hear more about that from us in the coming weeks. Obviously, we really wanted to jump into NFL. We've been raring to go with the NFL stuff. So a lot of it here. We're going to start with the quarterbacks that have been going down, dropping like flies. Tony Romo, the back problem. He's going to be out, I think, 6 games. That's what they're saying. 4 to 6 games.
6 to 10 weeks. It looks like. Yeah,
so that's a huge blow for Dallas. In my opinion, their season's basically done. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to win 6 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, in Dallas right now, you've got that Dak Prescott hype. He was, like you said, before the show started, he was a 4th-round pick for a reason. It's always difficult to evaluate quarterbacks, so maybe that's where a Dallas fan can argue that, you guys don't know anything about Dak Prescott. He's going to play well.
Right.
He played well in the preseason, but he's not playing. He's playing very vanilla defenses. They're not going to throw out their best playbooks in the preseason.
Cards.
No chance. People are fighting for roster spots. They're going to keep it very simple.
Yes.
And sure, he played well. There's no knock on him for playing well, but he hasn't proven that he can be a starting quarterback at the NFL level just yet, because he hasn't had a game in the regular season yet.
And I think this hurts just about everybody on Dallas' offense. I think it hurts Des Bryant's production. I think it hurts Ezekiel Elliott a lot, because now you're going to see teams stack 8 guys in the box consistently, 9 guys in the box consistently. And I know they have the best offensive line in football by a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're still running against full boxes, what can you really do? You're not going to be able to do anything. They're going to make Dak Prescott beat them, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, it's going to hurt a lot of Dallas Cowboys, because I think Des Bryant, in his points per game in fantasy, he dropped off, I think, 3 points per game around that in standard format without Tony Romo. So it's going to hurt his production. But from just a pure football standpoint, Dak Prescott's in a pretty good position, I think, to succeed. If he's ever going to succeed, I think now is the time. Because he's got the first-round running back who is as dynamic as any prospect we've seen in a couple of years from the running back position.
If he stays out of trouble.
Yeah, he's got to stay out of trouble. You've got Des Bryant, who, if he could stay healthy, he's a legitimate number 1 receiver.
Yes.
And like you've mentioned, they have the best offensive line in all of football. So he's going to be able to stay protected. While he's working through his reads and whatnot and becoming an NFL quarterback, he'll be able to hand the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, or when he's in trouble, throw the ball up to Dez and let Dez go and get it. So if he's going to succeed as an NFL quarterback, or if he's going to implode as an NFL quarterback, we're going to see it starting week 1.
Yes. All right. Next quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. This one hurts. I was super low on him coming out of Louisville. I really didn't like him. You love him. I really didn't like him. Teddy 2 clubs. But man, he's proved a lot since he's come out of college. And I thought this was going to be the year. He was going to lead the Vikings to an 11-win season, maybe definitely a playoff.
Definitely a playoff. I don't know if they would have challenged Green Bay regardless.
I could have seen them challenging Green Bay for that division.
Yeah, maybe, but it's out of question now, I think.
Yeah, right. He's done for the year. He tore the ACL. He had other structural damage in his knee. His knee's effectively kaput for the season. He's done, which, man, just from a football standpoint, I hate to see a guy like that go out. I like watching him. But the Vikings then turn around a couple days later and make a dumb trade for Sam Bradford. The former number 1 overall pick was in Philadelphia. Obviously, there was a little rift there because they drafted Carson Wentz. They signed Chase Daniel from Kansas City because Doug Peterson came over. That was his backup there. He knows the system. He can run it well. He's got full confidence in him. So quarterbacks were, it was a challenge position in Philly, so they had to get rid of somebody. But Minnesota, giving up a number 1 pick and a 4.
So the way the trade goes for you guys, Minnesota gave up a first-round pick for Sam Bradford, and then they gave up a second conditional pick, which if Minnesota doesn't make the playoffs, I believe it's a 4th rounder. Yes. If they make the playoffs, it goes to a 3rd rounder, and if they make the NFC title game, I believe it goes to a 2nd-round pick. I don't think we need to worry about them making the NFC title game. Maybe they have enough talent to make the playoffs. I think if they work around the quarterback position, they can, but I've never seen so many excuses made for one quarterback than when I see Sam Bradford. The guy just has proven that either A, he can't stay healthy, or B, he wasn't worth the number one pick when he came out in the NFL draft. I can't remember what year that was, but he's proven he can't play.
No,
And I know the Vikings were desperate, but come on, a first rounder and more for Sam Bradford. I feel like Philly fans boo the Eagles a lot. They should be applauding their front office for getting a first round pick for Sam Bradford.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Minnesota just saying, well, we had the team in place to do something this year. We feel like we got to give our fans something. Sam Bradford's still a better option over who they had. Sean Hill was going to be their starter, still a better option. But when you look at it from our standpoint, it looks like a really bad move for them. I guess time will tell. I think we're going to be right.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to grade that trade, that is a solid A plus for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then for the Vikings, I mean, how can you give it anything above just a failing grade?
Even think about this for the Eagles. He goes to the Vikings now. You get their one next year. He gets hurt. He goes down. He's done. Sean Hill, they win 5-6 games. That's a high pick. That's what you just did.
You're right.
And that's not too far-fetched to say because of his history with injuries, especially with his knees.
Even if he doesn't get hurt, though, his performance hasn't been conducive with, let me put this team on my back, let me get them to the playoffs. He's just not a good quarterback.
Right, yeah, we've seen it for years now with two teams. All right, enough with those guys, the quarterbacks. Let's talk about the hometown team. Corey's love, the Chicago Bears. Corey, I've got the Bears going 9-7 this season. What do you say about that?
Well, what we could do is I actually have their schedule pulled up, so we can do a quick run through of the schedule and we can figure it out for ourselves.
Sure.
So week 1, they're playing the Houston Texans. Personally, I don't like the matchup against the Texans, only because the Bears don't have a healthy cornerback, and the Texans have a receiver named DeAndre Hopkins.
Who's a beast.
Who is an absolute monster. So I can see the Bears actually losing week 1.
I would also say they would lose week
1. So
we
can do that.
We're going to mark these up right here with W's and L's.
Okay. And then week 2, they're playing the Eagles. Eagles are trash.
That's a win.
That's a win, I think. Then they're playing the Cowboys at Dallas with Dak Prescott starting at quarterback.
That's also a win in my opinion.
I think that's a win as well. Let's see. Then they're playing the Lions at home. I mean, the Lions lost Calvin Johnson.
They always play tough.
They do play tough.
Those division games are always tough.
Yeah.
I would give the edge to the Bears.
I think I would give the edge to the Bears as well, so that'll get us, let's see, 3 we got so far. They're playing at Indy. Indy is one of those where I'm not too sure because they have Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck can go off.
But Indy's just so bad at evaluating talent outside of Andrew Luck, and
they didn't have to evaluate anything there. He was a surefire.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like with the Bears front 7, I feel like they can put enough pressure on Andrew Luck.
He's got good weapons. Dwayne Allen's not terrible. T.Y. Hilton's proved to be good. Dante Moncrief's not bad. Frank Gore.
But who do they have on defense? They lost. The Bears claimed their best defensive player.
They don't have a defense.
So I feel like that's one of those games where it might turn into a little bit of a shootout. But in my homer opinion, I think the Bears front 7 is going to do just enough to relieve the pressure on the secondary to be able to put the Bears in a position to win the game. Do you agree?
I'm going to take the Colts in that game.
You're going to take the Colts in that game?
I'm going to take the Colts.
All right, well, the homer in me is already coming out. So now they've got the Jaguars at home. The Jaguars, Blake Bortles might light up the
also got a lot better on defense.
Yeah, I like the Jaguars, and you guys will see later how much we both love the Jaguars.
I'm going to take the Jags.
I'm going to take the Jags in that game. At the Packers, I mean...
Nope,
I don't think so.
Packers all day.
The Bears won at Lambeau last year, but I don't think so. At home on Halloween versus the Vikings.
Ooh, a Monday nighter on Halloween. That's exciting.
I'm really looking forward to that.
It'd be a lot better game if Bridgewater didn't destroy his knee, but...
Yeah, but I think beyond that, I mean, it's going to be another one of those games. It's an interdivision game, you know.
That'll be close.
That'll be a really good game.
AP can wreak some havoc there.
Yeah, I don't think, but the Bears have had trouble with AP in the past, but AP's older, and the Bears front 7, again, has really impressed me. I think the Bears can pull that game out.
I do as well.
I really do, so I think I can give the win to the Bears there. So right now, we are halfway through the season. I have the Bears at 5-3.
I
think you're at 4-4. So then we're going to scroll down. They have their bye week right in the middle of the year at week 9. And then they start out with, after the bye on November 13th, they're at Tampa Bay. I'm not a big fan of Tampa Bay myself personally.
Yeah. I think they could win that game.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they should win that game.
They're expecting Jameis Winston to take a step forward. That's great, but the Bucs are in for a little bit of a rough time, I think. So then we move on to the Giants. At the Giants, I don't think the Giants are the most impressive team ever, but I think that's one of those games where Odell Beckham's just going to light up the Bears.
I think the Giants got a lot better. They signed a lot of defensive linemen. I like Janoris Jenkins, a quarterback and a cornerback. I know you don't feel the same, but I think the Giants take that game.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Janoris Jenkins, but I do think the Giants take the game as well. So that's where we're at there. They're home and playing the Titans in the next week. I think the Titans will be improved, but
I'll still take the Bears.
Yeah, I'm still taking the Bears as well. Do we really need to say anything about the 49ers the next week? The 49ers are kind of trash, to be perfectly honest.
Terrible.
At Detroit, now, I'm not the biggest fan of Detroit myself. We've already talked about it. Yeah, I usually like to split division games just because, you never know what's going to happen with a division game.
Steve.
I despise you. But, yeah, I think I'm okay with giving maybe the Lions a victory at home.
I'm going to stick with the Bears in this
You think so?
Yeah,
You think so? Yeah, I think
the Bears should go. They should not lose a game to the Vikings or Lions, and they should lose both to the Packers.
See, that's where you and I will be different because I think the Bears are going to give the Packers a little bit of a run for their money on December 18th, Week 15 at home, and I think the Bears can beat the Packers at home. If you're telling me the team last year that was so devoid of talent beat Aaron Rodgers on Thanksgiving on the road,
I'm taking the Packers.
I'm going to take the Bears
I'm
on this
taking
one.
the Packers.
We move on to having the Redskins at home. The Redskins did beat the Bears last year at home. Bears had far less talent than they do now, I think. I still would probably... man, I don't know. I feel like the Bears can beat the Redskins. I feel like the Redskins would be in the at least in some sort of running for the playoffs
just because
the NFC East is garbage. Yeah. I think I'm going to give it to the Bears.
I'm taking the Redskins.
I think I'm taking the Bears in that game. And then Week 17 at the Vikings. I think I'm going to give that one just to the Vikings just because it's another inter-division road game.
I'll take the Bears.
So
last week of the season. What does your record come out to there,
I
guy?
have a 10-6 record for the Chicago Bears.
And I have 9-7.
Yeah, so that's where, I had written down before we started that I had 9-7 or 10-6. It's going to be one of those wait and see, evaluate years. I think the Bears might surprise some people and get a couple wins they shouldn't have gotten. The talent has been vastly improved on the defensive side of football. So we will see.
Alrighty. Any surprises for you on the 53-man roster?
You know what? Not in particular so far, at least. We're still waiting on... this is breaking the fourth wall. Again, this is the day that NFL teams are making up their practice squads and acquiring people off of waivers. So nothing too surprising yet. Their 7th-round pick was impressing people. Daniel Braverman, the wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He was impressing people in training camp, but he didn't really do too much in the games. He was cut, but then it looks like they brought him back on the practice squad. So he stays there, but beyond that, nothing really too shocking so far.
Straightforward. Shout out Eric Kush. Welcome to the Bears.
Yes, Eric Kush, the subject of Joey's affection on Hard Knocks.
If you haven't watched Hard Knocks, you need to watch Hard Knocks just to watch center Eric Kush do his thing. This guy's hilarious.
He was cut from the LA Rams.
Screw you, LA Rams. What are you
doing? The LA Rams, and he was signed to the Bears roster today, so he will be a backup center to hopefully Josh Sitton, who will be hopefully signing with the Bears.
Currently at Hallis Hall.
Currently at Hallis Hall and has not left Hallis Hall, and I don't think the Bears have any intention of making him leave at Hallis Hall.
Without a contract.
Without a contract, yes, of course.
Speaking of linemen and contracts.
Hey, yeah.
Look at that transition.
Look at that, we're good.
Getting there. All right. What do you think? Well, just give your opinion on Kyle Long getting his $40 million, $30 million guaranteed extension.
Kyle Long is one of those players where he's a definite leader for the Chicago Bears. I honestly, myself, I wasn't a big fan of him when the Bears drafted him.
You and a lot of other people, by the way.
Yeah, he's proven everybody wrong. He's been in the league 3 years, 3 Pro Bowls at 2 different positions, 2 at right guard, 1 at right tackle last year. It's one of those things where the money really doesn't matter to me only because he's a leader, and the years he's on the Bears, he's going to be a leader the entire time, and you can't really afford to underpay him. And $30 million guaranteed. That's a pretty good price for a Pro Bowl offensive lineman, no matter where he lines up. So I'm thrilled with the deal. I'm glad he's going to be here for 4 more years.
Yeah, I love it. I love the personality. I love that he. I've actually watched Kyle Long stream video games on Twitch. The guy's a great personality. He's an excellent football player. I think he's only missed 1 game since he's coming to the NFL. That's tough to do when you play on the offensive line. The versatility to switch positions within the offensive line is a great trait to have. Excuse me, loss of words. But you just can't undervalue that. And $30 million guaranteed seems like a lot, but I think it's a good price for Kyle Long, and it's good. I'm not really a Bears fan, but it's good to see him stay.
Yep.
So we got that going for him. Alrighty, now we're going to jump into our playoff predictions for both the NFC and the AFC in the NFL. Kick it off. We're going to start with. You want to start with the NFC, or you want to start with the AFC?
Let's go with the NFC.
NFC first. All right. I'm going to give. Are we going by seeds? You want by seeds, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay. My 1 seed is the Arizona Cardinals winning the West in the NFC.
And then my number 1 seed I've got is the Packers winning the NFC North, and that pains me a little bit, but Packers have the easiest schedule and the best quarterback in all of football. I could see them winning 14, 15 games, to be perfectly honest.
All right, my 2 seed, the Packers. Same stuff. I just don't think they're going to win that. I think they'll win 12 or 13 games. I think the schedule affects them a little bit, but you just never know with the NFL what's going to happen. Anybody could go down. Anybody could get hurt. Anything can happen. So they're my 2 seed. They're going to win the NFC North fairly easily now that Teddy Bridgewater is not with the Vikings. Probably by 3 or 4 or 5 games, at least in that division.
Well, then, not much difference between the two of us, because I have the Cardinals as the number 2 seed, winning the NFC West. I mean, Bruce Arians has been my man crush since the minute before the Bears hired Mark Trestman as their head coach way back in the day, because for some reason Phil Emery let Bruce Arians walk out of that building and said, "Nah, let me go with the guy from Canada first."
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did.
That hurt me in many ways that you will never understand, viewers. But yes, Bruce Arians and the Arizona Cardinals will be my 2 seed.
All right, my 3 seed coming out of the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers. The defense is there. The quarterback's there. Luke Kuechly, I love that dude. The guy's an absolute animal. Cam Newton, obviously, hitting it all over the field. Sorry, had to do it.
I had my eyes closed, pushing my glasses up, and I still knew you were doing it.
They're going to be my 3 seed. They're going to win that division.
My 3 seed as well is the Carolina Panthers coming out of the NFC South. We've talked about Cam Newton, that defense, Luke Kuechly. What's that?
Hit him.
Stop. And they're going to have to overcome losing Josh Norman. But, I mean, I've never been the biggest fan of Josh Norman.
Neither of us are too high on it.
Yeah, so I think the Carolina Panthers come out and win their division and get the 3rd seed.
My 4 seed, winning the NFC East, even though that's not saying much, looking at this division, it is terrible. It's the worst division in football. The Washington Redskins should win this division. They're my 4 seed. I think Corey probably has the same answer.
I do not, actually.
Oh, wow, okay.
We were going over who was going to win the NFC East before the show, and it's just such a bad division. It is horrific. But I have the New York Giants winning the NFC East. The reason for that is maybe I'm not the biggest fan of rebuilding through free agency in the NFL. I mean, free agency is a great time, but they revamped their front four on that defensive line. They and in the secondary too, they signed Janoris Jenkins, who again not a big fan of, but he's a talented football player, and they drafted Eli Appel with the 10th pick in the draft, so that'll help with their secondary a little bit. And they still have Odell Beckham Jr. on offense, and I think that just with Odell's performances, they can squeeze out a couple games. I mean, they don't have to be the best team in the world. It's like they just got to.
They're gonna get 6 games against this division.
Win your division games. Win your division games.
They go 4-2, 5-1.
Yeah, and if it's that, the same goes with the Redskins. I mean, this is a pick that I don't think either of us are pretty confident on, only because they're just.
You could coin flip between
terrible.
these two.
They're terrible.
You could coin flip between these 2 teams.
If Tony Romo was playing, we might have a different tune. I for sure would, but until Dak Prescott proves something, then I got to go with the Giants.
And the Eagles will be awful. So no fly Eagles fly from us.
None.
Getting into the wild card now, my 5th seed is the Seattle Seahawks. They're still very good. Russell Wilson has proved everybody wrong, and then some. The guy's a stud. Their defense is still very good. We'll see what they can get out of the running back position. Marshawn Lynch gone. Thomas Rawls supposedly the starter, but he did have that
Christine
broken
Michael.
ankle. Christine Michael's there, apparently revamped. He was what they said he was exceptional in training camp.
Yep.
So we'll see.
I mean, Christine Michaels turned some heads before in that camp,
Right.
and then we see how that turns out.
Right.
But my 5th seed is also the Seattle Seahawks. I've been a big Seahawks. I guess like when I'm not watching the Bears and paying attention to the Bears, I like watching the Seahawks just because of that dominant secondary, and Russell Wilson seemingly finds a way every time. I mean, Marshawn Lynch isn't there anymore, so you got to worry about the run game a little
Yes.
bit. But Seattle's just one of those teams where they can sneak into the playoffs, and then they can just take off in the
They
playoffs.
can easily win the NFC.
I think yeah, I'm not going to say they're my NFC favorite, but
No.
it wouldn't shock me to see the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl just because of their pedigree
Yeah.
and what they've done in the past.
My 6th seed, my final team in the NFC this weekend, the New York Football Giants. Basically the same reasons. I like Eli Manning. I think normally I'm not a fan of the free agency rebuild, but I think they did a really nice job bringing all those pieces to help that defense. That defense needed a lot of help. They got it help all over the place, especially on that defensive line. And I like, who's the new coach there? McAdoo.
Yeah.
McAdoo. I like McAdoo a lot. I like his system. Eli loves him, so I think it's going to be a good year for them. I think they can win 8 games to get in the playoffs as a 6th seed. I don't think it's going to be a problem in the NFC, to be honest. 8, 9 games get you in as a 6th seed. Yeah, maybe 10, depending on how the Bears do. There's a lot of variables there, but they're my pick.
And what a great transition, because my 6th seed, and it's going to be a little bit of a homer pick, but I don't think it's the most outrageous pick in the world, is I do have the Chicago Bears making the playoffs as a 6th seed. And we talked about in our predictions the Week 16 game versus the Redskins. That could be one with
that could decide the
potential playoff implications for the NFC wild card. People give Jay Cutler garbage. Jay Cutler doesn't deserve 3/4 of the garbage that he gets. They're going to have to do it with a little bit of a revamped running game. Their receivers, they got to keep Alshon and Kevin White healthy. I feel like Alshon's primed for a big year just because he's in the contract year. And if you look at their front seven on paper, it's a ridiculously good front seven. You got great new inside linebackers. You know, once Pernell McPhee comes back from the PUP.
Yeah, how worried are you about him?
You know, I think I was probably at maybe a 3 or a 4, and in the past couple days out of 10, and in the past couple days it's probably come up to like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah,
you know,
that's probably where I'd be.
I could see why they drafted Leonard Floyd now, and I could see why they didn't trade Willie Younger, Lamar Houston. That front seven on that defense is going to really help the secondary, in my opinion, and I do think that they can surprise some people. And like we talked about, 9 wins could probably get you into the playoffs in the NFC.
Yeah.
And I think the Bears. Well, I had them finishing 10-6. Joey had them at 9-7. I think that gets them into the playoffs.
All right, that rounds out the NFC. Kicking it off with the AFC. This was tough for me. I was looking at it and I was like, man, who do I give the number 1 seed
The
to?
AFC is trash,
Like,
ladies and gentlemen.
I was like, it'd be easy if Tom Brady wasn't suspended for 4 games, but even though he's suspended, I still gave the Patriots the number 1 seed in the AFC. I just don't see who's going to dethrone them from the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, I agree entirely. I have the Patriots as well as my number 1 seed and the winners of the AFC East.
Yes.
And you're gonna have Tom Brady for 12 games. That you're going to be favored to win in those 12 games. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can be decent
Win
and
2
not
games?
and not crap the bed for 4 games and they start out 0-4, even if they start off 0-4, I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs. But
Well, they'll make the playoffs.
yeah, but if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't, crap the bed, and they've got Tom Brady with Martellus Bennett now more weapons to work with, they're my favorite in the AFC for sure.
Yeah. My 2 seed is the Cincinnati Bengals. I've got them winning the AFC North. I like Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, Bernard, Hill. They've got all those guys there on offense. Defense is good enough. Marvin Lewis has been doing this now for a while. I got them as my 2 seed winning that division. It's a decent division. I mean, it's not horrible. I mean, the Browns are the worst sports franchise in the world, but the Steelers will give them problems. Ravens play them tough, but I still got the Bengals as my 2 seed.
I do as well. I have the Bengals as my number 2 seed and the winners of the AFC North. Like we talked about, Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, their running game. I love Geno Atkins on that defense.
Yes.
And they should be able to apply enough pressure to opposing quarterbacks to be, a very serviceable defense. I got nothing else to say on that.
My 3 seed, probably a shock to some people, not to me or Corey, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, you heard me right. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. They made a lot of improvements in the offseason. Blake Bortles broke out last year. Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns. They brought in Chris Ivory to go with T.J. Yeldon. There's a lot of weapons. They're going to score points. I like them a lot this year. I think they're going to win that division with no problems, really. I mean, Houston's a decent team. Indianapolis has nothing but Andrew Luck, so I got them winning the division, being my 3 seed.
Yeah, I want to say before we get on to that, just special shout out since you mentioned Allen Hurns to Vincent Beltrami, who sniped Allen Hurns for me in fantasy football. Love you, buddy, but screw off. My number 3 seed in the AFC, I actually have the Denver Broncos winning the AFC West. I feel like they won the Super Bowl last year with subpar quarterback play throughout the entire year. That defense is still dominant. I think that they're going to have to, dink and dunk a little bit on their offense, and they might win a bunch of games, 17-13 or things like that. But I'm really impressed with the defense still. And I've thought about counting out the Broncos before, but I do think that it's going to be a tough road for them with my 6th seed, who you guys will see coming up soon. But I do think the Broncos might have just enough to squeeze out a division win.
Yeah, see, I don't. My 4 seed is the Oakland Raiders winning the AFC West. See, here's the thing. You say they had subpar quarterback play last year, but would you rather have an old and bad Peyton Manning for most of the season or Trevor Siemian?
Well, my division my division winner in that case is based upon eventually Paxton Lynch coming in and playing well.
Do you think that highly? You think that highly of Paxton Lynch? Because I don't. He's got the prototypical size, sure, but I don't see major success for him, especially in a rookie season.
The reason why I'm okay with going with Paxton Lynch is they've had to see something with him because they cut Mark Sanchez.
All right, well, cutting Mark Sanchez.
But no, because see the way it goes is if they had kept Mark Sanchez, they would have had to give up the draft pick to keep him. And if you're thinking, Mark Sanchez isn't really that spectacular, and you've got something in the back that once you let it develop a little bit, you're okay with Trevor Siemian for a little bit. I think that, I'm not like, this is one of those things where it was really close with my number 6 seed, and I didn't want to trust, spoiler alert, the Oakland Raiders.
Right.
I'm not quite sure I want to trust them enough yet, but just with the coaching there and Von Miller leading that defense,
Still, for me, we know that defense was the best last year, and it'll probably still be the top 3.
Yeah.
But you lost. You lost Malik Jackson. Danny Trevathan plays for the Bears now. These are 2 huge pieces in that defense. Aqib Talib is a scumbag. I'm not 100% positive this guy will play every game because he might get suspended. And again, from watching Hard Knocks, I saw front and center. He cheap shots Case Keenum on a late hit out of bounds in a preseason game. Like this guy's a scum. He's scum. So
yeah, this is probably the pick I'm least confident in.
Right. Yeah.
Again, because I'm not the biggest fan of Kansas City Chiefs personally. What?
Spoiler alert.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Kansas City Chiefs, and Oakland. I really like Oakland. I'm just not sure I'm ready to trust the Raiders yet. I think they're putting it all together, but I don't know if they're quite there yet.
I just look at the Broncos' defense. Their defense was historically good last year. Can you duplicate historical success the 2nd year in a row? I don't think they can. I don't think Trevor Siemian's good at all. I don't think Paxton Lynch has enough in a rookie season to lead them to a division title. That's why I've got the Raiders.
I have a really bad feeling that in a few months when the NFL season's over and we're doing this podcast and the Broncos had like a 7-9 year or something like that, I'm gonna be like, all right, Joey, just let me have it. But
get it over.
I will put it out there. This is probably the pick I'm least confident in.
All right, let's go on. Those are the divisions. Now we're getting to the wild card. The 5th seed for me is the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. I like Andy Reid. I think he's done a great job with Alex Smith. So I have a lot of faith in their offense, and their defense is very good. They rush the passer super well. That works, right? Super well.
You're good.
I'm good. Grammatically, I'm fine. I like the Chiefs as the 5th seed. I think they're going to play well this year. They'll probably win 9-10 games.
Yeah, I actually don't think I covered my 4th seed. I actually have the.
You know what? I don't think you did either.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
But it's okay. I'm pretty in line with Joey. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South. We talked about how ridiculously good that offense is.
Yeah.
I don't really need to put much else into there, and the AFC South's not great. And then we move on to my 5th seed. I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers making the playoffs as a wild card. I just learned to not stop trusting Big Ben, and they have Antonio Brown, who's one of the most dynamic football players in football.
He's the best player in the league.
Yeah, so I feel like they can sneak into the playoffs as a wild card as well.
All right, my 6th seed rounding out the division, or the playoffs teams for the AFC, is my team of choice.
We got the homers, man, making the 6th seed in the playoffs.
The New York Jets. Jets, Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick is back. Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles leading the way. They're going to win 10 games. They're going to be the 6th seed in the AFC, no doubt in my mind. Corey.
See, part of me roots against the New York Jets just because Brandon Marshall is such a whiny football player.
But he's a beast.
Yeah, but there's a reason he's on his 4th team and hasn't made the playoffs ever. My 6th seed is the Oakland Raiders, and this could very well come back to bite me in the ass when they win the division, but you know, Derek Carr, I love me some Derek Carr.
Start the car.
Yeah, start the car. They have enough on offense. I mean, I don't feel right trusting the Oakland Raiders, but I feel like this might be the time to put myself out there a little bit for them.
All right. That covers our playoff predictions. Let's move into some fantasy football now. Some of our sleepers that we've got. For me, my first one's going to be running back from Kansas City, Spencer Ware. I think Jamal Charles is going to be a bust this year, if I'm going to be frank about it. I think Ware's the guy you want to have. If you got to draft Charles, you have to have Ware at some point handcuffed to make sure you get a starter out of it. I think he's going to have a good season. He lit it up in the preseason. So I think if you want a Kansas City running back and you don't want Jamal Charles like myself, you could wait and get Spencer Ware later on in the draft and steal him from a Charles owner.
Yeah, I was a little upset when I saw in our league. I'm telling you guys, I saw somebody from NFL Network tweet out that Jamal Charles might not start week 1. The second I saw that, I logged onto our fantasy football website for our league, and I wanted Spencer Ware, and someone had already taken him. So whoever has him, that's great. Good for you. But
you've done your homework.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is either.
I don't know who it was either. All I saw is I searched the name and it said trade, so I was like, well,
Trade. I have no idea who it is.
All right, and then for my running back, actually, sleeper, I have Terrence West, only because he's pretty kind of handed the starting job in Baltimore. So.
Yeah, really. Why did they cut Justin Forsett?
I don't know. I mean, his contract wasn't outrageous either, from what I remember. I think he signed like a 3-year, $12 million deal.
I hadn't heard anything about Forsett, with a riff with the coaching staff or anything.
Maybe he's injured or something.
I hadn't heard anything about injuries.
I don't know either. But basically, you're Terrence West. You were a decently hot fantasy football name a couple years back, and if you're looking for a really deep sleeper, he's going to get a bunch of touches, so he's going to have a chance to prove himself.
Right. All right. I got a couple wide receiver ones I want to talk about. Actually, I've got 3 wide receivers written down on this list. I like them all. Will Fuller, rookie in Houston. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to help him tremendously, take a lot of pressure off. This is a guy I've got on a couple of my teams. You can get him super late in drafts. So he's a guy you should look for. Another wide receiver I've got, I think, on 3 of my teams right now. And I'm not complaining about it. I think he's going to be big this year. Marvin Jones in Detroit.
Marvin Jones is on my list as well.
Yeah, Marvin Jones. Calvin Johnson out. Basically, Marvin Jones is the new starting wide receiver with Golden Tate. I think, in my book, I think he's better than Golden Tate.
Well, what I heard on the radio on ESPN 1000 when they brought in, one of those Detroit beat writers, they talked about Marvin Jones. Well, they talked about Golden Tate, first of all, and how Golden Tate's role isn't changing. He's not going to be this new number 1 receiver that gets all these different opportunities and that Calvin Johnson would get. They've been using Marvin Jones as a deep threat, and they said that he's been looking incredibly impressive as running these deep routes. And, that might not be great for a PPR purpose, but he's, if he can break 1 per game, or you're going to get a good fantasy wide receiver because he's going to get in the end zone and get you 6 points.
Right, yeah. So I love Marvin Jones. Love him. Target him later in drafts. I think he's very, maybe around 10th round, he's still available in a lot of leagues. So unless there's somebody that's loves him a lot in overdrafts, whatever.
Yeah, let him overdraft.
Yeah. My third one, people probably hate on this. Tavon Austin, LA Rams, just signed that big $42 million extension.
What has he accomplished that he got that money?
I like this guy, dude. There's something about him.
And he didn't answer my question.
What was your question?
What has he accomplished?
It doesn't matter. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the season he's going to have this year. I think they're going to run him a lot more on the drag route. I think they're going to stop trying to throw him the ball 50 yards on the field.
Who's throwing him the football?
Oh, Case Keenum. He leads the NCAA in touchdowns and passing yards.
Is the NCAA the NFL?
It is not.
Okay.
Do you have faith in Case Keenum like I do? You do not. I love Case Keenum. I used to play this.
No, I liked Case Keenum.
I used to go on NCAA football on PS2.
He's sitting there just waiting for Jared Goff to be ready.
And then Jared Goff's going to throw him the ball. I think Taylor Austin's going to break out this year. Anyways, my point on Case Keenum. I used to go on NCAA football back when they made it PS2 online and destroy kids with Case Keenum in Houston.
Well, Case Keenum used to destroy people in real life with
That's
his arm.
true. So I'm biased towards Case Keenum.
Yeah, I like Case Keenum. I don't hate Case Keenum. But you can't tell me that he's the reason why you're drafting a subpar wide receiver is because his subpar NFL quarterback is going to get him the ball. I'm just using logic, ladies and gentlemen.
I like him.
And then my second wide receiver of choice, I actually have Mohamed Sanu.
Atlanta?
Yeah, in Atlanta. He's going to be, similar to, who did you have? You had, with Will Fuller, you got Julio Jones in Atlanta who will take, a lot of the double teams. And that might give Mohamed Sanu a few opportunities. I took him in our draft. I think I got him in the last round because we had a little bit of a confusion. I thought I got Josh Gordon, but I was wrong.
We were all wrong.
Yeah, we didn't see where Josh Gordon went, but I'm fine with Mohamed Sanu. I feel like he's one of those, low risk and decently high rewards because he's gonna see a lot of one-on-one matchups, and as a receiver, you should win a one-on-one matchup.
Right. I've got one more here, a tight end, Jared Cook, new tight end for the Green Bay Packers. I think he'll take over that spot from Richard Rodgers. He'll be out there on a lot of the passing downs. I think you look at Cook, he hasn't had a lot of success in the NFL as of yet, but the size, I look at that 6'5", 252. This guy's a beast, and if you look at any quarterback that can get him the ball and get the job done, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers. So I like him later in drafts. If you say you draft Tyler Eifert, who's going to be out for the first 4 games, but he's a prominent tight end, probably the third, fourth best tight end in the league. You take Jared Cook a little later, play Jared Cook for the first few weeks, maybe keep him on your roster after that. Something like that is what I would use with Jared Cook.
Yeah, Jared Cook is one of those. He's never had the best quarterbacks to work with. Really, I think he's had Bradford, and then
he went to Tennessee.
He started. Did he start in Tennessee?
He was in Tennessee. And
I don't know who he had in Tennessee, but regardless, wasn't a good quarterback situation. So now he goes to having the best one in all of football. So if any tight end or if any quarterback is going to make a tight end succeed, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
So this is his chance to prove it. I think he's got a little bit of a case of the dropsies, but we'll see. My tight end sleeper pick, I actually have Jesse James from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this didn't really dawn on me until I was listening to Late Night Fantasy Football Talk a couple days ago. How much Big Ben has actually just relied on Heath Miller over the years. And you have Antonio Brown just stretching the field. So those middle field and intermediate to short routes are going to be open for somebody like Jesse James. And you've already seen that Big Ben's okay with relying on Jesse James. So if you're looking for somebody like a really deep sleeper, because tight end is a kind of a hard position to judge in fantasy.
And there's Ladarius Green there too.
Yeah.
So that's like a real deep sleeper, sure.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what I've got right now.
All right, Corey, are you ready to talk about some fantasy football drafting strategies?
After you.
All righty. Now, me personally, if in a perfect world, what I want to do with my first pick is get one of the elite running backs in the NFL. I don't think running back's very deep, especially at the top. You got your Gurleys, you got your APs, all that. But when you get into the 5, 6, 7 rounds of a draft, it gets real skim real quick. So stack up on running backs early. Wide receiver is deep. Quarterback is even deeper. So for me, you can wait a super long time on a quarterback, 10th round. Like I said last night, in my draft, I got Phillip Rivers in like the 11th or 12th round. So for me, you could stack up on wide receivers in the middle rounds. You could wait on a quarterback in the late rounds. And if you want to be that guy that takes the defense first, go nuts. If you want to be Vinny Beltrami and take Mason Crosby in like 12th round, do your thing.
Shout out to you, Vinny.
Yeah. But that's just me. Corey, what's your opinion on this?
Well, like I was saying before we had to go on our break, was I had the first pick, unfortunately, in the draft. And I say unfortunately because I hate having 19, 18 picks between picks. So I went with Antonio Brown, who is by far best fantasy option, I think, in all of fantasy football. And then I had to wait, and I had to see Todd Gurley come off the board, AP come off the board, Jamal Charles come off the board, David Johnson. All of these guys go off the board, and then it comes back to me, and there were maybe 4, solid RB2s maybe left, and there were Matt Forte, LaShawn McCoy, Mark Ingram, and Doug Martin. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going with Matt Forte because I still think Matt Forte has good pass catching ability, and he could maybe put up RB1 numbers some weeks, and then LaShawn McCoy as well because they just cut his back up. But, I really would have not preferred to have the number 1 pick because you're right, running back is so shallow. And it's different from previous years when you look at it, how people usually go running back in the first and second round and try to get your receivers later on. And you looked at running back in previous years, I feel like it was just more skilled than it is now.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many question marks with even these top running backs like David Johnson. Is David Johnson really this elite running back?
And a lot of guys now, you don't get any 3-down backs.
I think AP is the last of that dying breed, and AP has taken as much damage to his body as any running back of our era. So I don't even know if you can rely on AP to be a 3rd-down back. But another thing I've noticed with a nice fantasy trend with these players is I feel like this year tight end was a little bit deeper than you've seen in previous years, I think.
I don't think it's that deep. Alrighty, guys, that about does it for us here this week on Mom's Basement. Remember that no longer the Sports Corner, Mom's Basement now. Mind Over Matter Sports, another week, another podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for giving us feedback, anything at all. Corey, thanks for being here again.
Anytime.
Alrighty, guys, I think that about does it for the week. Appreciate you guys watching, listening, whatever it may be, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.